Join as we learn Chumash for Parshas Vayakhel, the Torah reading of Vayakhel, as mentioned yesterday, when the Torah reading in a non-leap year where Vayakhel-Pekudei are together. This is where we're going to start. However, on a leap year, this would be the third Torah reading, but this is the second Torah reading for Parshas Vayakhel and Pekudei. Verse 30. Yesterday we learned as Moshe commands the Jewish people about bringing the items and the skill needed for the building of the tabernacle. Today we continue with the appointment of those that were going to be in charge of this and how the Jewish people go about building the tabernacle. Verse 30. Vayomer Moshe b'nei Yisrael, Moshe tells the Jewish people, see that God has now singled out Betzalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur of the tribe of Judah. Rashi, Hur, who was Hur? Benashel Miriam. This was the son of Miriam, so technically speaking, this was his great nephew. Verse 31, and God endowed with him a divine spirit. B'chochma, with wisdom, b'tfuna, with insight, b'das, and with inspiration, u'b'chol malacha, and with all types of craftsmanship. If you look at the words, chochma, tfuna, and das, is chochma, bina, and das, like Chabad. Verse 32, v'lachshev machshavos, and to devise plans, to devise woven designs, lasis bezav, to make with gold, b'kesef b'necheshes, with gold, silver, and copper. Verse 33, u'b'charoisha 7, also with the art of setting gems, lamalos, to be able to insert them, u'b'charoishes 8, and with carving wood, lasis kol malachas machshavos, to do all kinds of skilled craft. Verse 34, and he also was given with him somebody to help him. He gave him also the ability to teach. Chachma, slave, this and wisdom. Lasis, how to do it. And he gave him the ability to teach in his heart as well. He and Eliyav, the son of Achisamach, to the tribe of Dan. Eliyav was Meshevat Dan, from the tribe of Dan. They were small, they were not considered from the most popular or important tribes. Shebishvatim, they're in the tribes. Mibnei Ashvachis was from the children of the maidservants. However, God puts them on the same balance, on the same plateau, same level as Betzalel when it comes to building the tabernacle. Who Betzalel came from the greatest of tribes, the tribe of Yehuda. Because this is what Job says, that the rich or the more important in front of God is not considered more important in front of God. Both of them are equal, and therefore both of them contribute together to the building of the tabernacle. Verse 35, God has endowed them with wise-heartedness, lasis, to do komalechas, every work, chodesh v'cheshev, of craft, to carve, the roikim, and to weave, betchelis, with the turquoise, bargamon, with the purple, with the lashani, with the scarlet wool, b'sheish, with the linen, v'oirig, and to be able to weave as well. All this artisan weaving, oiseh kol malacha, to do the proper work, v'choshvei machshavos, and to be able to think and know every kind of work, what was going on. Chapter 36, verse 1. In fact, the word choshvei machshavos over here, when it talks about knowing thoughts, according to some of the commentaries, explains that what does it mean that they knew thoughts, that they knew actually what intent a person was donating something. Were they doing it because of peer pressure? Were they doing it because they generously wanted to? And based on that was where they used that gold, silver, or copper in the Holy Temple. Chapter 36, verse 1. Also Betzalel and Eliyav, together with all the wise-hearted people, that God gave them wisdom with tefuna and understanding, Behema and them, ladas, to know, lalasis, how to do it, is kol malechas avodas hakodesh, all the proper work, l'chil asher tziva Hashem, to whatever God commanded. Verse 2. Vayikra Moshe Betzalel Eliyav, and Moshe called to Betzalel and Eliyav as kol ish chacham lev, and to all the intelligent people, asher nasan Hashem chacham b'liba, that God gave them wisdom in their heart, kol asher nasay liba, whoever was endowed and uplifted to be able to their heart to do it, lekarva lamalacha, to bring them close to do the work, lasi seisa, to do it. Verse 3. Vayichum lifnei Moshe, and they took from before Moshe eskol atruma asher hiviu b'nei Yisrael, they took all the donations that the Jewish people brought them, lechas avodas hakodesh, for the work of the holy service. Lasi says to do it, v'heim aviyu alav, and they brought it, and they kept on bringing it. Further contributions, continue bringing more donations every single morning. Verse 4, and all the wise men who were doing the work, each person from which work they were needed, from what they were doing their work, that they were doing. Verse 5, and they said to Moshe, the people are continuing to bring more than is needed, more than what we need to be able to work with, for the work that God commanded us to do. Verse 6, Moshe then commanded and announced and gave a order throughout the camp, saying, Ish man and woman, they should not do any more work to the donations of the holy donations, and the people were then prevented from bringing any additional items. Verse 7, Rashi, they were withheld, they were no longer able to bring. Verse 7, the people's work sufficed for all the work they have done. Lastly, says to do it, and not only that, there was a surplus. This is probably the only time in Jewish history that there was a surplus in a building campaign. And there was still more money, to the extent that they ever told somebody when they made an appeal and they said, stop giving money, only time in history. Rashi, the fact that the Jewish people brought so much, was enough, meaning they had enough what to do with to be able the ones that were building the tabernacle, for all the details that had to be done. Last says they had plenty and even a surplus in order to achieve all the things needed to accomplish. What does the word v'hoiser mean? Like he made his heart hard. That he made it difficult. Meaning in this case that the Jewish people did it again, meaning the surplus, how much there was extra and there was plenty. And all the wise people that were doing the work, making the tabernacle at this point, they first made the 10 tapestries which were made out of twined linen, twined together with turquoise wool, purple wool, and red wool. They made them with krubim, meaning that there was woven into them the design of eagles, each on one side and a lion on the other side. And that's the way they made them. Then we continue, verse 9. The length of each one of these tapestries was 28 amos. And it was wide 4 amos. Each one of these tapestries. One measurement for all of the tapestries. Verse 10. And he connected the 5 one to the other. And the other 5 one to each other. Verse 11. And he made these loops of turquoise at the edge of one of the tapestries, because by its edge, in order to be able to connect it with the other one, and therefore matching it, the matching on the other side. So too he did on the other edge of the other tapestry, on the opposite side, counterpart to it. To verse 12, there were 50 loops that were made on each one of the tapestries, and 50 loops were made on the other side of the tapestry, which was on the other side facing it. The 2 of them were exactly facing one another, and they were opposite each other. Verse 13, and he made 50 hooks, and he connected these 2 tapestries, one with the other, with the hooks, and now the tapestry became one entire tabernacle, one entire piece to cover the tabernacle. Verse 14, and then he made the goatskin, which was going to be as a covering on the tabernacle. 12 different tapestries where it was made. The length of each one was 30 amos, and 4 amos wide. Was the width of each one. Was the same measurement for all 12. Verse 16, and he connected the 5 on their own and 6 on their own. And he made 50 loops at the edge of each edge, facing the other one. Then made another 50 loops on the edge of the other tapestry, which was facing the second one. Then he made copper hooks, chamishim, 50, to connect these two tapestries. Hashem is the second one as well. To make them one. Verse 19. Then afterwards he made a cover on top of the goat skin, which was made out of dyed ram skin. And then afterwards, on top of that, as we learned with two different opinions, as we learned in Parshas Truma, then on top of that was the tachash skin, which we mentioned that this tachash, the animal, was extinct and was only there for the purpose of the holy temple, building the holy tabernacle. Verse 20. And then they made the planks, Mishkan, for the walls of the tabernacle, acacia wood standing up straight. It was 10 cubits was the length of each one of these planks. A cubit and a half was the width of it, each plank. There were 2 pegs that were coming in the bottom of each one of the planks, protruding each one next to the other. This is the way it was done for all the different planks of the tabernacle. And he made for the planks for the tabernacle 20 planks, for each side, for the southern side. For each one of these 20 planks, you had now 40 silver sockets. Went under the 20 planks. 2 sockets per plank. For the 2 pegs that were protruding from the plank. And 2 sockets for every one of those planks. For the 2 pegs that were protruding and went directly into the socket. Verse 25, and now for the other side of the tabernacle, which was on the north side, so too, we made 20 planks. And then for there as well, there were 40 sockets. 2 sockets under each one of the planks, 2 sockets under each plank. Verse 27, now for this western side of the tabernacle, there were 6 planks. Then there were another 2 planks that were on the corner, which cornered off to each one. That's what made it cornered and rounded it off the side and make it flush against each other. Verse 29, and therefore now they wanted that the plank should be flushed on the bottom. As well, it should be flushed on the top, that each one should be able to hold each other. Therefore, they put a ring. There was a ring that would hold each 2 of the planks. This is what they did for the 2 on the edge to make everything flushed and properly cornered. Verse 30, and so now you have, if you have the 2 at the end and the 6 in the center, gives you a total of 8 planks on the west side of the tabernacle, Vadneim Kesef, and then also you had the sockets were Shisha Asar, 16, because you have now Shnei Adonim, you have 2 sockets per every beam. Verse 31, and then he made brackets which would then hold, crossbars, which would then hold the beams in place as well. So you had 5 beams, 5 crossbars that were made for the planks on the one side of the Mishkan, and another 5 crossbars which were made for the other side. And then there were another 5 that were made to the west as well. 33. And then he made the inner crossbar, which that was a full length of the karsha for the B'seicha Krashim that went inside. So the other 2 were on the outside. Well, this one was on the inside, which went from edge to edge. According to some, there was a commentary that explains that it actually miraculous was that it bent when it came to the back, and it came out the other side was the same one. Others want to say that it was the same, just an inner one on each one of the sides, and they joined each other. Verse 34, and the planks he then coated with gold. And its rings, were made out of gold. They would hold these brackets. And therefore he coated those brackets with gold as well. Those crossbars with gold as well. Then he made the curtain. He was made out of Turkish wool, purple wool, and red scarlet wool, and linen masar, which was twined, woven in a special way that it was woven that it had krubim, and he made it woven in the design of the krubim with on one side one appearance and on the other side something else. That's what it means when he wove it krubim. Verse 36, and then he made 4 pillars of acacia wood. V'yitzap himself and coated them with gold. V'vei himself, his hooks were gold. V'yitzak lam arba nekesef, and they made for it 4 silver sockets. V'yas masach lepesach chayla, and then he made a curtain for the entrance of the tent of gathering. Tchelis vargam se l'shani v'shish mazar, which was made out of turquoise, purple, scarlet, linen, and ma'aseh all woven twined linen. Verse 38, V'samud of chamishav, it had planks, its beams, were 5, its vaveim, its hooks. V'tzipar Hashem, then he coated, v'chashukeim zav, and then they were then coated with gold. V'adneim, however, their sockets in this case were nechesh chamisha 5 of necheshes of copper. Now that we know this actual structure that was made, once the structure and home was made, we then can go on to make the actual items that were needed to go into the structure. Chapter 37, verse 1. Vayas Betzalel Sa'aron and Betzalel then made the ark as a shittim out of acacia wood, Amasayim v'chetz arka 2.5 cubits long, V'ama v'chetz rechme 1.5 cubit wide, V'ama v'chetz kimasei 1.5 cubits height. Why does it say Vayas Betzalel? That Betzalel was the one that made it. Didn't all the smart people make it? So therefore he tells us, because he dedicated himself so hard on doing the work, Nikral Shmai, therefore it was called Nikral Shmai, therefore was called by his name. Then what did it want? Vayitzapeu zav, and he coated it with gold. Mibayisam b'chutz, from the outside and the inside. Vayatzli zer sav, and he made a gold crown around it. Verse 3, Vayitzik li'arba tabisav, and he poured on it 4 gold rings. Alabra pamayisav on its 4 sides. Shtei tabayis al echas, 2 rings on one side. Shtei tabayis al hashen, 2 rings on the other side. Vayas badiyatze shitim, and he made for it poles which were made out of acacia wood. Vayitzafes zav, and he coated them in gold. Vayavi yisabadam atabayis, and then he put the poles into the rings. Al tali sadin lasis sadin, on the sides of the ark to be able to carry the ark. Verse 6, Vayas kapedes azav, and then he made a cover which would be out of pure gold. Amasayim v'chetzi arka 2.5 cubits long, Amma v'chetzi rachma, and 1.5 cubits wide. Vayashne kruvim, and from it protruding was the 2 kruvim. Mikcha, also somebody made it out of 1 piece of solid gold. Mishnei ketzesa kapedes, on the 2 edges of the cover of the ark. There was 1 protruding image coming out on one side, and the other was protruding from the other. He took and he made these krubim coming out from the actual piece of the kaporos, as God commanded they should be banged out from the gold that was made of the actual cover. Verse 9. Verse 8. There was 1 kruv on one side, another kruv was on the other side. He did it from the kapiros, he made these kruvim, and its 2 sides, 2 edges. Verse 9. And these kruvim, they looked like they had springs wet aloft. Lamaila, on top of them, so that their wings shielded their cover. On the kapiros, and they were both facing one another. El kapiros, towards the cover of that was on top of the ark. That's where the face of the krubim were. Verse 10. Now that we finished the ark, which was the first item mentioned, we go now to the second item, which was the table. Vayasas hashulchan, he made the table. Atzei shitim, also made out of acacia wood. Amasai marka, 2 cubits long. V'ama v'rachbay, and 1 cubit wide. V'ama v'chetzik yamasei, 1.5 cubits high. Vayitzafes is of Torah, and he coated it with pure gold. Vayasli zer savav, and made for it the golden crown. Vayaslim is geras tefach, and he made a rim around it, a gold rim all around it. Vayaser savilu miskarta, and on top of that rim they put a gold chain. Vayitzikli arba tabisav, and he poured for it 4 gold rings. Vayitin esatapes labra apes, and they put the 4 rings on the 4 sides. The shel labra aglav, which were at the 4 legs of the table. L'umasam is geras hayat habayis. The rings were very close to the frame. Losis ashulchan, this way it should be balanced when they carry the table. Verse 15, Vayasas abadim atzeshitim, and he made the rods out of acacia wood. The yitzafes himself, and he coated them with gold. Losis es shulchan, to carry the table. Vayasas akelim, and he made the vessels asher al shulchan, on the table. As reisav, its shelving, its supporting frames. As kapaisav, its shelving tubes. As miniaki yesav, and its spoon. As kareisav was its bread forms, as kapoisav its spoons, as menakiyesav its supporting frames, as aksaves and the shelving tubes, asher yusach mamzav Torah, that they should all be pure gold. This concludes the Torah reading for Monday, Parshas Vayakhel and Pekudei together.